Alright, Shalom. I like to say Kahalayam, Wahawadla, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone of Ruel. Peace and blessings to the Acrimony world that pushes through to the four corners of the earth. Right, it's Brother Yaba. I said I'll do a video. I entitled it, Do you think all these nukes are for show? Right, I came across this article. It said nuclear weapons, which countries have them and how many are there? Alright, but I'll go to that scripture first, because people think that the government keeps spending billions upon trillions of dollars in nuclear arms and fighter jets and all these war vehicles and aircrafts, and they think that they just going and put all of that stuff in a corner and just say world peace, and they're not going and use it. You understand? It said there's Revelation 9 verse 12, right? The Revelation 9 verse 12 is say, one woe is past, and behold, there cometh two woes more hereafter. And that woe represents destruction. You know, for those who actually know the scripture and so forth, that was talking about the world wars that passed. And the scriptures actually prophesied that those world wars would come, right? It said there's Revelations 11 verse 14. It said the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. And that third woe represents what? The third world war that we're going and go through, right? And that third woe that hasn't come yet, that referring to that last battle that it's going and have, right? And that battle not going and be, it's going to be different to all the other battles, because the first World War and the Second World War, it's not going to be anything close to the kind of destruction and technology and nuclear capability that it have now in these times. This war going to be the last war to end all wars, but this war must come, right? And nuclear capability, you know, all these nuclear weapons going to play a very big role in this war. Right? They're not creating these things for no reason. They're not just manufacturing all these different gadgets, creating robots. You understand? You're seeing like little Robocops running around who don't want to replace actual police with robots, and all these things is not for no reason. All these things are to aid in the destruction that is to come. You understand? That is one of the other major prophecies that are going to take place. You understand? That battle, that great battle. Scriptures talk about in Revelations where they say Michael and his angels will fight against Satan and at least the serpent and his angels, right? I even read that in a precept, the last video I did, when they talk about the Lord coming back and the people fighting against him. You understand? It also make references in Revelation where it say the beast shall hate the whore and eat her flesh and burn her with fire. How it is they're going and burn the whore with fire? That nuclear destruction, that nuclear capability that you see and have a big part to play in prophecy that is to come, right? So Isaiah 9 verse 5, it says, for every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood. It says, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. And then talking about like long time when they would roll up a big boulder in tar and light it at fire and shoot it at, no, they actually talking about nuclear destruction. Fire, you understand? Melting. The scriptures talk about it in many different places. The next one come to me, Zechariah, I think it's 14:12. Right, Zechariah 14 verse 12, right? I'll read this, then I'll go to the article. It say, Zechariah 14:12, it say, and this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord shall smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. It say, their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouths. Right? If you ever see like the movie Terminator with Sarah Connor, when she did get the vision and the bomb went off and she was holding on to the fence, and you see it like a big blast of wind and everything just burned off and only she skeleton did remain. Esau don't put these things in movies for no reason. They giving you snips and bits about the things that are actually going to happen to this place. You understand? These things are prophesied to happen. So for those who might be thinking that, it wouldn't have our actual Third World War, and they're not going and use all these missiles that they just putting down and constantly upgrading. They just going and put all that down and or just throw it away and bury it. So no, these things are going to be used. You understand? They're going to be used against America, and some of them would even be used against the Lord when it is He return, because they will try to fight against Him. Right? Let me go to the article. Right, it says nuclear weapons. It says which countries have them and how many are there. Right? It says with recent tensions between the US and Iran, you might be hearing a fair bit about nuclear weapons. I won't read the entire thing, but just the parts that, I'll put the link in the description so somebody could go through the whole thing if they want. It say they are considered the most destructive weapon in the world. It say the explosions are so powerful, just one nuclear bomb could destroy an entire city. So you see the kind of destructive force these things have. A person wouldn't create something like this just to have it for decoration, to look pretty on a wall. Right? The Lord putting it into these people to create these things because they have a job to fulfill. The third war cometh quickly. The scriptures talk about it. It must happen. The Lord is not going to change His mind. Nukes as nuclear weapons are known and far more dangerous than even the biggest normal non-nuclear bomb. Right? So that shows you how destructive it is. No other explosive device could compare to it. You see, there's also been a lot of talk about some countries, including Iran, it's in not being allowed to have them while others can. There's quite a lot to get your head around when it comes to nuclear weapons, right? But don't worry, we've put together the guide to the key questions. It says, what are nuclear weapons? It said they are extremely powerful explosives. It says you might remember the words atoms and isotopes from science lessons, right? It said they're involved in the process of triggering a nuclear blast, right? So that is what it actually made from. It said the bomb gets their energy from their splitting atoms or joining the tiny particles inside the atoms together. It said that's also why a nuclear bomb is sometimes called an atomic bomb. And you don't just get the inspiration for things like this to create destructive forces like that. There's like, oh, I just mix these two things together, and oh, this just happened. You understand? They don't work like that. The Lord gave them this knowledge because they have something to fulfill with it. It said nuclear weapons release huge amounts of radiation which can cause radiation sickness. So their actual impact lasts longer than the blast, right? So even if you don't get killed by the blast, the radiation, you wouldn't survive. You understand? And it wouldn't be like the radiation at that potency. When it now went off, you wouldn't turn to the Hulk. You're right. There wouldn't be no gamma radiation that might transform you into some superhero. No, you're going to die. Right? They say, but they've only ever had to I read it over Slack here, but they have only ever been used twice in history. Against Japan in 1945, it said during World War II, where they caused huge devastation and innumerous loss of lives. It said the radiation from the bomb dropped on the city of Hiroshima lasted several months and killed an estimated 80,000 people. And this number is a joke. It's a joke compared to the amount of people that are going to die in the time, in the class of the day of the Lord. You understand? That time of destruction that coming, this is just a drop in the bucket compared to the amount of people are going to die. That is why the apostles always tell brothers, hey, get yourself ready to be able to see death. Get yourself ready to lose people around you. All these things you have to get your mind ready for. But if somebody not in the truth, don't be too attached to them, because when these times come, if they're not of the Lord, they are not going to make it. And even some that are of the Lord might be beheaded for the word. Even you yourself might be beheaded for the word. Loss is something that you have to set your mind to, because there's going to be a lot of things lost in the times that are to come. Right? They say, and the bomb dropped on Nagasaki killed more than 70,000 people. Still a drop in the bucket. They say they haven't been detonated in war since then. They say 9 countries currently have nuclear weapons. They say the US, UK, Russia, France, China, India, Pakistan, Israel, and North Korea. Right? They say who can develop them? They say in theory, pretty much anyone with the technology, intelligence, and facilities. But whether countries are allowed to or not, that's a whole other issue. They say this is because of something called the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, right? Or NPT, an agreement which aims to prevent the spread of nuclear weapons and promote disarmament, which is something that you've seen a lot of countries breaking these days. They're not respecting that treaty at all. Right? They're not respecting that treaty at all. I will scroll down to this part. Alright, like I say, I'll post the link in the description, so if anybody want to go through the whole thing, they could go through it. Right, they say in July 2017, it looked as though the world was a step closer to becoming nuclear weapon free when more than 100 countries endorsed the UN treaty to ban them altogether. They say, but countries with nuclear weapons such as the US and UK, France and Russia boycott the treaty. You understand? Even America doesn't even keep their agreements as to when they're actually making treaties with people. They will tell people they can't do certain things, but they will still be manufacturing the same things that they also agreed not to do, because the scriptures talk about that. They say they rule the nations with anger, right? The unfair, the unjust. They don't keep the word. America promise you something, best you stay on the side you're on. Don't switch to help America, because as soon as they get what they want, they're going to stab you in your back also. They are not righteous. They don't keep their word. And there's always teacher in the movies, never make an agreement with the bad guy. It never works out. The bad guy will always double cross you. That is America. That is Esau. Right? Say, but countries with nuclear weapons, right, boycott the treaty. They said the UK and France have said the agreement didn't take into account the realities of international security. They say a nuclear deterrence has been important to keeping peace for more than 70 years, right? They say while countries like the UK and US are reducing their nuclear stockpile, which I believe is not true. We're just putting it away and saying that they're reducing it, but they know the elites know what is going to happen, and it is being put in them to prepare for it. They're not going to get rid of their nuclear capability. They are increasing it, right? But you know, this BBC, they might be a little biased, right? Nuclear stockpile. It's the experts say they are still modernizing and upgrading their existing armory, which is true. And not even on the high scale as nuclear, but even on the smaller scale when it comes to technology and robots. And I even see a video some time back, it was I think a year or two back, where they created a fly that could fly into the center of your skull and blow up your brain. They haven't stopped preparing for this because they know these things are about to come, and they're getting ready. They have nothing about reducing the stockpile. That is nonsense, right? So the UK is upgrading its nuclear weapon systems, and the US may spend more than $1 trillion, right? It's say by the 2040s upgrading its nuclear capabilities. But with the kind of signs we're seeing right now, by the time next year they want to start forcing certain things with the chip and so forth, and things with vaccines, we don't know how 2040. You understand? Anybody talking that nonsense, they're not in the right mindset. The way prophecy is moving so fast and so rampant, and the devil coming down onto us more and more, we could see that 2040 coming. You understand? Right. It say and North Korea continues to test and develop its nuclear program with missile tests as recent as October. So while the world may have fewer nukes today, it say, than it did 30 years ago, it doesn't look like you'll be seeing a complete end anytime soon, right? And we don't want to see a complete end. Why? Because these nukes are going to help in the end of the world, right? These nukes are going to help in the end of the world. They have a major role to play. It said this is the second Esdras 16 verse 13. And as I made this example in other videos, when the prophets was given the description of the things that they were seeing in the visions, they didn't know what a ICBM was, they didn't know what a tank was, they didn't know what a fighter jet was. They were seeing these things, but they used the best things in their head that they could to describe it, because these things didn't exist back then, right? It say 2 Esdras 16 verse 13, it say, for strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. It say his arrows that he shooteth are sharp and shall not miss. And you know, nuclear weapons, they are programmed. When you program it to go to a target, that target out. You understand? Unless you find some way to stop it before it hits, it's not going to miss. We'll see it for the ones that is missiles like heat tracking, and they don't miss. Alright? You have to find some way to try to get it off your back, but they don't miss. It say and shall not miss. It say when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world. Now if you have a movie, I think it's Terminator, not the last one that came out, the one before that. When he did trick Sarah Connor's son to actually go into the base. If anybody saw it. When he tricked them to go into the base, because he knew that he couldn't stop it, but he was trying to trick him to get him there so that he would be safe. And then you see a short clip where you see a set of missiles shooting and going all over the world. You understand? That was going and hitting different places and different regions on the earth. What the scriptures say when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world. A man cannot pull a bow with an arrow and shoot an arrow from here to China. You understand? It wasn't talking about an actual bow. It was talking about these nuclear missiles. But a bow and an arrow was what he could have used to explain it with his level of understanding. So that's showing you what? It has so much scriptures, but the scriptures, we know it in allegories. It doesn't literally say ICBM. You understand? But we know what these scriptures referring to. You know, let's say I read this article, I said I'll go through it to show you that these nuclear weapons, you know, this is part of the gift that the Lord, his scriptures say what? Esau blessing is his sword. This is a part of the gift that the Lord give to Esau, because it has a role to play in the destruction that's to come to this place. You understand? But these are not things for us to fear. We just have to fear the Lord and do what we're supposed to do. Focus on how we're supposed to be and so forth. Keep walking on that right path. Staying in the apostles' doctrine. Doing what you're supposed to be doing. So that when these times come, we will be able to escape it. Whether it be by nuclear destruction, whether it be by wild beasts, whether it be by famine, whatever the Lord choose to bring on the earth, you understand, we working so that we will be able to escape these things in that time. Right? I hope it was edifying. With that, I say shalom.